I've had a really awesome understanding and insight come in today. Something that's been bouncing around in various different forms for a while um, within my consciousness, and has to do with, it's really related to this idea that we have these messages for each other to transmit, that the Celestine prophecy talks about. That in order for us to spiritually evolve, we need to connect with other people and give each other messages. Now, it is so much more than just verbal, right? So what the real thing is that we need to be whoever and whatever we need to be with this other person in that moment, right? And where this gets, I think, interesting and challenging for people is in the area of physical intimacy. Because for whatever reason, especially I think in Western society, we put a box around physical intimacy. It is this one thing that we're very tightly controlling about. There's scarcity associated with it, like we can't share it, right? There's you can hug another person, right? You can maybe cuddle with another person. And then we have lines, all kinds of lines beyond that, right? And it's an artificial, made up boundary. Because the truth is, we connect so deeply with people all the time. We can have a conversation and peer into someone's soul, and we're exchanging energy, and we are connecting incredibly deeply. I mean, we are exchanging things all the time when we interact with people. We have levels of aura, right? We have different fields about ourselves. We are connecting and exchanging with people all the time. But we put this one area of it in this separate box, it's somehow different, it's separate from all the other kind of connecting and interacting with people that we do. And that's not true. Right, that's something we made up, especially, again, in the Western world. So I'm understanding that's what's called for. It doesn't necessarily mean that humans are never monogamous. It doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't mean anything, because we all have phases and seasons where we're doing different things. If you feel called to have a long-term monogamous relationship, then that's what you should be doing. That's what you're meant to be doing during that season of your life. So I don't think it says anything about we should all be a certain way. I don't believe that this implies that. It might imply some level of openness to what is showing up in life and the role you're meant to play in any given scenario. I don't know. This is still an exploration. I'm just understanding that feels so true to me, that we are meant to show up in the moment and be who we're meant to be in that moment with whatever interaction's going on. This also doesn't mean that we're chasing our hormones, chasing, orgasm. It doesn't mean that at all. An example, there's been a couple scenarios where I've interacted with women who had some sexual trauma, and we did some work on that, and it's intimate work to do. It's intimate physical work. It can be. It's not always that way, but some of that work can be. And it was and what was important for them, I felt, was that this interaction had nothing to do with me needing anything or trying to get anything or achieve anything, right? It was totally focused on their releasing of an old experience and replacing that with something just loving, and that was totally focused on them, right? And that's what was just needed in that moment. That's the interaction that was needed to happen by reality. And if I was in a box, right, where I wasn't allowed to do that, then a really important thing that wanted to happen wouldn't happen. So that's kind of an example. And like like I said, it's not about me sexually at all. And so I think that we can have this idea that all sexual interaction is about chasing orgasm for both people, right? Like that's what it's about. It's not. That's not even true. It's not about that. It doesn't need to be about that. It can be, and it has been. And that, the book I talked about, Cupid's Poisoned Arrow, is talking about how when we do that, it's destructive to monogamy. It's destructive to pair bonding between people, right? And so I think as we move potentially away from that as our normal way to engage sexually with each other, that will also kind of shift all these things, all these control, this tight control mechanism we have around people too. Because we seek this orgasmic release, and then, it's like, it's kind of a destructive thing in a lot of ways. Not that, and not in all forms. Like I talked about before, like men and women can experience all kinds of different orgasms. It's when we chase after that really shallow, depleting type of experience and think that that's what it is about, that we get ourselves into like just self-destructive habits and patterns. And this is all, as you can see, like this is still processing, figuring out, it's integrating into me what this all means. But I think this is all interrelated. It's all interrelated. Our spiritual evolution is interrelated. The giving of messages, sometimes that's a physical interaction, right? Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just this is a message that I'm giving to whoever's watching this. And sometimes it's just this, right? It can be any number of things. And I think our openness to just acknowledging what we're actually feeling in the moment, what we're actually called to do, and not being afraid, right? And of course, if you're in a relationship, that requires an understanding of that. Like, we have to be totally honest about how we are showing up in the world with the people that need to know that. Like, there's people that need to know that, especially if we're in a relationship. So it's being honest with ourselves. It's being honest with others. It's being honest in the moment. It's just this truth, like, and we are love, and love is truth. So I don't know that it's that foreign of a concept, but anyway, that's where I am today in this moment about this topic that is continuing to unfold. So we will see where I am tomorrow. This is a shift from where I was yesterday. So I just feel like I'm getting a lot of information from different sources about this topic, which is complex. It's complex, and there's a lot of different things going on, and I'm just trying to work through it and share, as I go. So awesome. We'll see what happens next.